is. I'm looking around very positively for person number one. Always the hardest one in the room. Come on, who's going to go first? It'll be somebody right at the bottom end. Is that it? Oh.
Why is the pitch excessively watered all of the time, no matter what the weather is? They put the water on and you've got players slipping over and you can't keep the feet, etc. Is it, my best guess is it's because it makes a bit of a softer landing and it's for player protection. That's my thoughts about it. It also makes the ball go faster, but that's the double-edged sword, isn't it?
It's the second one, the speed of the game, so it makes the ball go quicker. So that's why we do it, yeah. They do slip over too much, they've got to change the studs, but yeah, it's for the speed of the game.
Right, who's next? I do have some from the worldwide interweb, so I will throw those in as well, but we want to make sure you guys get as much chance as possible to ask questions, or not, is the case maybe. There's an intelligent looking table over here. Oh no, it's not. Come on guys, look, you guys must have a question over here, surely. There you are, I knew it. What's your golf handicap?
Hi, briefly mentioned on yours, Jez, about passed over the stadium. Obviously, whilst we're all hoping to make it into the Championship in the near future, a few years ago we chose, due to high cost, not to expand the Stacey West. Is that still an option to do, or are there other options, or are we happy with capacity as it stands?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're right. We've as part of the development, when we repriced it and looked at elements after COVID, basically the cost of concrete steel, the return on investment, the time that it would take to pay back, and doing anything bigger on a grander scale just didn't make sense. We did that knowing we have options to expand the stadium in other areas. The Real Mac stand for one, the Green Link stand for another. There are other things that we can look in. So have we capped the Stacey West for the foreseeable future? Yes, but hopefully we've done that with enough foresight that there are other things that we think we can develop. Given Jez has shown the slides off anyway, one of the elements is a significant build on top of the Real Mac stand, so taking the boxes and going back and outwards from there, and then we're also exploring options for things like taking the roof off the Green Link stand, filling in the corners, because the challenge is the height and then the roof line. So if you build anything next to it, effectively you block the sight lines of those that are already sat there because of the roof. The temporary stand did that from a few years back. So the roof would have to come off, but then you could fill in the corners, and then you could almost have a new canopy that could go over that. So broadly speaking, we've very soft scope options should we ever have the need to, the desire to, and the abilities to do so. But the Real Mac stand and the Green Link would be first and second prize for growth compared to the Stacey West, which predominantly was first prize at the time.
Right, who's next? Right, I'm going to throw one in from the internet. This one's for Michael, if I can find a light. How do you balance the development of young players with the need for immediate success?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think I don't think you can divorce the two. So that's my way of thinking of it. So, and we look at that in the same way. So winning and developing. They need an opportunity to develop, so you've got to get young players on the pitch, but they've got to be ready, because they've got to know how to win. So I think if we divorce the two, that's where I think a lot of people get it wrong. Where we probably try and get it right, Sean Rowan's a great example, and we develop them whilst we're winning, is what I say. So yes, they have to have opportunity, and yes, they'll make mistakes, and interestingly, I think you can see the evidence of that with probably Jovan last season to this season. But you have to give them time as well. So time is of the essence with the young players. They're not consistent enough as the old players. You know what you're going to get with Paulie, 8, 9 out of 10 every week. He makes mistakes, but the young players have more dips and more highs. One day you think they're brilliant, another day you think they're not so good. So calm, time, winning and development, you can't divorce from them.
I just add one thing, Alan. We talk a lot about how are we going to be successful with our budget, because we know that the league is always going to, like Liam's right, there's always going to be a Birmingham, it'll be a different club every year, it'll be Derby or Sheffield Wednesday or whoever. But what's happened this year is there's probably 8 or 10 of them. So for us, we've got to find a way of being successful, and how do we get the best players here who can grow and develop with us? Because if we go out and try and sign the best players, they're going to go to the clubs who pay them the most money. So if we try and sign the best 28-year-old who's played 300 games in League One this summer, he's going to cost us an absolute fortune, and he's going to go to one of the big hitters. So for us, this isn't just a smart thing to put on a slide saying we'll win develop. It's actually the way we think we can be successful. And then we develop a game model that means we run, we're fit, we're committed. Those young players can then deliver that game model, and we can be a really, really hard team to play against. There'll always be we're a bit too young when we lose, but we probably got a bit younger in the second half of last year with like Joe Taylor coming in and Alex Mitchell in the team and one or two others. But we found a way that was really, really hard for teams to cope with us physically, cope with our running power, cope with our athleticism, our physicality. So that's a big part of our recruitment, is not, we want young players and we want to develop, and it's really important for the model that we can reinvest, and we saw that with Lass and with Lucas going in the summer. But I also think it's the best way of executing a game plan that's been designed to maximise the effect and the value of our budget. So it's joined up thinking to try and bring success.
Right, any more in the room? Down here.
When we defend a corner, we never seem to have anyone up front. If the keeper gets the ball, he's got no one to pass to. I just wondered whether we had someone up there that would, who's got a bit of speed, could maybe take on one-on-one and get through.
So the answer to that is balance. So there's two ways of looking at it. There's one, you could leave people up and then you risk more free headers in the box. So we do a lot of work on this in the data. Even AI, we look into this already. So you can leave more players in the box. Outside the box, is what you're alluding to. But what are the chances of them getting a free header and scoring, which we know are big set pieces. So at the minute we don't do that because we defend. We think it's a big part of our defending. If we transition with speed, that's something different. But yeah, there's different ways of doing it. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. But there are definitely always in football fors and against of doing it. So at the minute we don't do that because we want to defend our cage really strongly.
I'll take another one actually off the internet. This one's for Harvey. It's great to see Harvey and Missy here, by the way, isn't it? So this is from Tom. What motivated your investment in the club, and what are your short and long-term goals?
First of all, great to be back. Love being back here, Missy and I. You all are always so warm and welcoming to us, and thank you. One thing Jez didn't say, during this window we had 5 players sign for less money just to end the slideshow early. So in January it will be 174 slides. No, but I do have to say, and I'll get to the question, it has been amazing. This window was a lot more fun for me because I got our feet wet the last couple of years, been in a little over 3 years. This window, it was really fun to dig in. There was a lot of communication, a lot of calls, a lot of WhatsApps, and I kid you not, I wake up at 5 a.m. in Arizona, 8 hours behind these guys, and there are like 40 to 50 WhatsApp messages waiting. And I'm learning about players on the fly. You know, Missy's asleep and I'm trying to read, about players, and the job these people do and the team behind them. You have no idea the work that it goes into. And so many of these calls were the same. We have ex-player who says, I'm getting offered a lot more money other places, but I want to play in Lincoln. And you hear it once and you go, okay, maybe there's a reason they're from Lincoln or from the area. want to come home. It was time after time after time. And that just speaks to what is going on at this club and the way business is conducted at this club. They know they come here and they're going to be developed as better players. And at the end of the day, what has been the best part is, it's those players who are willing to come for less money because of the experience, to become a better player because of Michael and his staff. It's those players that show the true character of what this club is about. And at the end of the day, talent is important, but the collective character of our team is what takes us from 12th in spending to 7th in the table. I truly believe that. We have top to bottom on this roster and every other roster since I've been here, top to bottom, incredible young men who are just good people. And you can be good people and be great footballers. And I'm so proud of what you guys do. It's so fun to kid Jez, but it's tireless work. And enough of that. But we are where we are because of these guys. That's the truth, not because of ownership. On the question that was actually presented, our motivation was we love football. We had a baseball investment, and you always love little reminders from home, even when you're 5,000 miles from home. I can't go any further without acknowledging the Dodger uniform over there. So, what's that?
The forehead.
Yeah. So no, it's our chief rival of the Padres, who were with 21 games left in the season. We're 4.5 games away from catching a team that spends twice as much as we do. So that's what we're trying to do in San Diego. But good to see it. Okay, I'll bring a Padres uniform for you for the next forum if that's all right. But our motivation is that we love the game, and that we could have done a number of deals in the United States, but not to hurt my own country, but that's not where the game is played at the highest level. Where the game is played at the highest level is here. It's here in England, and that's what we wanted. And have two boys who love this sport, have fallen in love with Lincoln. And I told somebody the other day that we fell in love with Lincoln before we fell in love with Lincoln City. We saw the city. It was all during COVID when we were doing our due diligence, so we couldn't come here. So we just had to figure it out by talking to people, by doing things online. And we said, Lincoln and Lincolnshire that's Kansas. Kansas is where we are from, the heart of America, the Bible Belt of America, the agricultural belt of America. And this is Kansas. When we took the train from the first time from King's Cross up to Lincoln Central, we looked and we said, we haven't left Kansas. We're still here. And so we love this club. We want to be here a long time. And it's never a straight path. It's up and down and up, down, But as long as the pattern is going in the right direction, from lower left to upper right, that's what we're after. And we made the right decision. There's no question. We looked at a lot of clubs. And now that we know a lot more about League One and English football, we're glad we passed on some of the other clubs. And we're in love with this place. So hope that answered the question.
Fantastic.
One for Jez and Michael. Is Scandinavia our new island? Sweden and Denmark, which Jez has said that we've been looking at previously. Two sponsors.
It's just a cover so that Gary Hutchison doesn't know our next Windows plan.
Do you see lots of talent out there, Jez and Michael?
So look, we've got a couple of guys who are dead smart who have created a really brilliant model for us to use an algorithm that's bespoke to us and the metrics we look for in different positions that highlight players across the whole world, so in every league. And what we find is there's a couple of hotspots. I won't tell you where the other one is, but Scandinavia is definitely one. And then it needs to correlate with wages. The change in, without getting too technical, post-Brexit, there was a GBE criteria that took loads of leagues out of our jurisdiction in terms of being able to sign a player. That's been now supplemented by an ESC place, which then allows a load of tier 5, band 5 leagues, of which all those Scandinavian countries are included. So there is no doubt there is talent in Scandinavia, and that will be part of our process of continuing to try and sign players. And look, the real reason for going outside the UK is just value. That's simple as that. We work in a really, really inflated market, and we're looking for players of a certain level of talent that maybe we couldn't buy in England, and we certainly couldn't afford in terms of wages. We've missed out on a couple as well, so it's not all perfect. You know, Eric, we probably identified, and from first identification to signing was probably about a 10-week process. There's probably another player in Scandinavia we've invested probably, well, since January. We tried to do it in January and we couldn't, and we thought we could get it done in the summer, and the club made it impossible. So yeah, sometimes it takes a lot of work and you don't get them over the line. Other times with Eric, where it's quite a quick process, they're really rewarding. We won't only look there, but there's no doubt that is an interesting market for us, and all three of the leagues, particularly Norway, Sweden and Denmark, have got some interesting players.
Thank you.
Any more in the room?
This is a question for Liam, Michael and Jez, and I suppose Harvey as well, really. Why not get everyone involved in this one? Given, obviously, you mentioned the SMCP, am I right in saying that? Earlier on, I was just wondering how important the turnover of players in terms of transfer fees and all that will be going forward. Obviously, we saw Lass leave the club this summer, and obviously we've got some quite exciting players now, so just how important is it to get those transfer fees in? And obviously a few of you guys mentioned longer term contracts over the summer as well, so I was just wondering how important that process is really.
I'll start and then I'll pass to Liam. So you've nailed the answer in your question. Lass and Lucas, you know, let's be clear, if we're asking Michael from a sporting perspective, do we want to lose those players? No, that's the truth. But they'd 1 year left of their contract, so they're left for nothing next summer. As a football club, it's really hard for us with the parameters of wages to sign some of those high-end, high-potential players on a second contract when they're already with us. So for both of those players, that made absolute sense for us. If the valuation that we set was met, that we do business and reinvest that money. And we're in such a fortunate position with Harvey that he allows us to do that, you know, reinvest those funds. My only other point before passing on is, for the exact same reason, it's why we have to back our judgment with young players and offer 4-year contracts. So there's a big difference between Lucas came when he was 24 years old as a free agent. For what we could pay Lucas, we couldn't get him on a longer term contract, so it was always going to be a decision after 12 months whether we sell him or whether we keep him for 2 years and then potentially lose him. With someone like Lass, I suppose it's the sweet spot, isn't it, where we invested some money in Lass. There was a transfer fee paid to Stoke. We signed him on a 4-year contract. He played for us for 3 years. We sell him, we make a huge profit on our initial outlay, but we get the benefit of him for that period of time. So that's the thinking with a 4-year contract. You know, we're signing 22-year-olds, but giving ourselves time to develop, time to give them the platform, and then still time in that contract length to realise their asset value.
Yeah, I think the only thing to probably add to that is, Harvey, and all the investors really supported us, because effectively a transfer deal is based on a number of things. First of all, there's the guaranteed fee. You then structure what are the payment terms. So is that over 1 window, 2 window, 3 window, 4 windows that you receive in equal payments. And then there's the contingency payments. Some of that's based on appearances. You know, some clubs will come to you and it's, you know, if they win the Ballon d'Or and score the World Cup winning final goal, you get paid. So, you know, unrealistic. But to be completely transparent, we expect the sale of Lass and Lucas to net receipts to us over a reasonable period of time. We expect that to achieve 7 figures. Where hopefully you guys can have the confidence in terms of Harvey's ambition for the club and others is the cash in that we received has been reinvested into this current group. So if Harvey and others had wanted to, that could have saved them some money this year, could have hit the bottom line, and we may not have been able to go out and sign some of the players that we have done, Eric being one of them, George being another, etc., etc. But what the board have given us permission to do and given us a mandate to do is the cash that comes in is to reinvest that. And you know, to be quite candid with you, the aim of that is that, you know, you sell your first couple with maybe, you know, £1 million net profit. You know, can you then spread the net, spend that over 3, 4, 5 players, but then that turns it into 2 or 3 or 4, and then just continue that cycle. Will we get everyone right? Like, no, we absolutely won't. But can we, without sounding like hedge managers, but can we then just spread our options over a number of players, a number of positions that either benefit the team whilst playing and or then can be that resale value, and again always then invest in that in the future. And like I say, without labouring the point, if you want to know how serious these guys are about winning and going further up the pyramid, that money was reinvested back into this group. I've worked at other clubs and known colleagues that money goes back into the investors, not to their pocket, but just saves them having to continually invest. And Harvey and others didn't expect us to do that. So yeah, that's broadly the model, and hopefully you'll be proud of the work we've done, not just in the outbound, but then the inbound as well.
Thank you. I would just add to that, the model is something we truly believe in, and it is about win and develop, and the development of players is significant. I spoke about it earlier. And it's never easy to make the sales side. You know, you never want a player to go. And the discussions we have about that. But the guy sitting to my immediate left, you know, he understands and believes in our model as well. And it would be very easy for him to just put up a blockade on any type of outgoing transfer. But he believes in what we are doing, and he believes in himself to find and develop that next player, and that is that revolving process where we identify a player through the Jez's recruitment process, bring them in, develop them. It's hard to watch them go, but that's how the model works, and so it takes a team effort. Really, the integral part of the team is the manager who believes in the way the model works, and we appreciate Michael having that approach.
Just one quickie. One of the things about the model is the selling on at the right time. Now, one of the most important things about a transfer that seems to be these days, and I hate to say it, Peterborough have it right, is the add-ons. Do we have a lot of add-ons for players, Jez? And like Ethan, if he goes, say, into the Championship, you know, surely Scotland will start to come and look at him. Do we have a set list of criteria we had to our players when we sell them?
Nick, it's like every single negotiation you'd ever do. You look at what you think are the most likely outcomes and you protect yourself for those outcomes. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the most significant sell-on you can get, but there's a balance between the maximum upfront fee and the amount of sell-on that you might get. You know, like Liam said, there'll be some clubs want you to, you know, they don't want to pay you unless they win, like the Premier League, so they're unrealistic. So our job is to fight for what we believe can happen, and each of those negotiations is different, but we'll always negotiate contingent payments on success, and we'll always negotiate a sell-on so that the club doesn't just benefit from the first amount of money, benefits from subsequent transfers as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to go back on that, the reason why the Harry Toffolo sale has become what I believe and understand is the record transfer fee wasn't because of the first move, was because of the second move and our interest in that. I think when we look at our interest now, I think we've got a future financial interest in about 16 players right now, so that are playing all over. Like, truthfully, some of them will go on and you know, maybe do very little, and our financial interest will end. I think we're pretty confident that there's going to be a number of players, Lass and Lucas maybe being part of them, but others that have moved on, that could give us future benefit going forward. So I just want to be clear that we definitely look at that long-term picture, and again it's a balance between what you get now and what you get going forward. But I think in years to come, potentially you'll be really proud of what comes from Lass and Lucas, given how hard and what we negotiated for him. If things go that we hope, then I think that could be something that you'll look back and say that was sensible business by the football club.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Keep hold of the microphone, Liam. This one's from you. Can you tell us what's happening with Lincoln City Women?
Absolutely. So look, let's be really clear. You know, it's a very different structure from what we've had before. Cut to the chase. The money that we were spending on that as a football club, the return we were getting and how it was evolving, we just felt that it was time to have a new playbook and ensure that we have some longevity. The single aim is that if you're born male or female in Lincolnshire, you have equal opportunities to take part in development football, elite football, and then have somewhere that you can aspire to play both male and female. And of course, when you get in B, 6s and 8-0s like the team are at the moment, that doesn't look like that. Let me assure you, there's a lot that's gone on beneath the waterline that is improving everything from sports science, the medical provision, the off-field provision. We want that to match the male pathway. And then equally, what we had to do is we had to bring young players in that don't want to play for the biggest money, that want to come on that development journey. So that's a very helicopter view. That's what we're trying to do with Lincoln City Women. What I will say as well is that we want people to play for the club, for the badge, not for themselves and not for individuals. And I'll leave that probably sentence there. We are very committed to developing a real pathway, male or female, in Lincoln and Lincolnshire. And Lincoln City Women hopefully will be the pinnacle of that. So the partnership with the university, the investment into the staffing structure is all part of that. And again, over the course of time, hopefully it'll prove to be the right decision. Look, we're on the hook for that. You'll be the judge of it. I've certainly got high ambitions for the future of the women's team, and again continue to make you proud, and us all proud in terms of the provision that we put on for them.
Any more in the room? No, you couldn't have put your hand up when I was stood next to you, could you? That's way too easy.
This is for Michael. What has been your lowest low and your highest high since you've been with us?
Winning and losing. I'm awful. I'm an awful loser. So you probably wouldn't know. I don't mind sharing with you. Tuesday night I was up till 3 o'clock watching the game back. So twice. So one thing I believe in is like the harder you work, you can outthink and outwork in football, and we do that really well. I think we work really hard, and I work really hard for the players. Missing, not getting promoted or not getting into the playoffs is the biggest lowest point, even though we did really well, because it feels like we did do well, right? The lads did well, but ultimately we didn't do it. And I think that's where I have two sides to me that you probably don't see, that the players do sometimes. It's important. So that was a bit of a high but a low at the same point. I think that's the emotional roller coaster of football. I'm just trying to think, Jez could probably help me out with this, a high and a low.
For a reason for Michael, because it doesn't matter who you are, how good you are, you need to get the first one. So the Ethan Hamilton goal at Leyton Orient was a bit of a high. I probably behaved inappropriately in the director's box. And if you want the second high that I can remember was you know the slow motion moments of football when you know it's going in a nanosecond before it does. It was Ethan Erhan's sliced brilliant strike away at Wickham. And that was for the same reason. That was relief because we'd lost a chunk of games. We'd signed some players. We'd had a couple of weeks on the training ground. It felt like it was the first of the new season and we had to get something from that game. And that goal triggered everything that came from there from the rest of the season. You know, we'd gone, I think we then drew the next 2 games and that was the first 3 games of a 16-match unbeaten run. So 2 Ethans were my highs.
From a game point of view, to answer the question, you always reflect on like where you want them to be, and they're never there. They're never perfect. So it's where you want the group to be. Shrewsbury at home for me was like all the work you do to see that performance, not goals, but the performance and how dominant we were on that day. That was the probably most professional, pleasing day of work that we put in. So yeah, if you want to know the game, everyone talks about the Barnsleys. That was brilliant, and where we won games. But when you actually see all the work go into a game, and the model that we were talking about before, that was like, nearly there, nearly really bang on.
Anyone in the room? It's our youngest contribution. I'm confident in saying you're our youngest man. There you go.
This year's transfer window, we've been moving away from loans, I feel. We've got a lot more of like permanent deals, so is that a plan to move away or is it just this window?
Youngest contributor, best question.
Give him the contract, I say.
Yeah, look, I think when we first established, or when we were first trying to establish ourselves in this league, loans were really, really important to us. Like that was a mechanism for us to speed the process up and being blunt, trying to be competitive quickly, and we needed that. I think what Harvey's allowed us to do is start to invest in transfer fees and pay compensation for players, and that changes our world a little bit because before that we would only have a market of free agent players, and to only have a market of free agent players, very, very, very difficult then to sign enough of those to be good enough to compete in the league, hence the use of loans. What we've now got is a squad where even this summer, I'll miss a couple I'm sure, but we'll have paid a fee for George Wickens, compensation to Fulham, we'd have paid a transfer fee to AIK for Eric, we'd have paid a transfer fee for Rob Street, we'd have paid compensation for JJ McKeon, and we'd have paid compensation for Dom Jeffries. So that's 5 players that allows us to not have to have all loan players. So what we look at realistically at the start of the window is, and you'll notice this because if you see the timing of our 2 loans, they're right at the end of the window. So our first plan is, can we secure permanent options in every single position that we want to sign? So we're looking first in that permanent market. What we do while we're pursuing all of those permanent players is we keep an eye on the loan market and we're constantly engaging with players, clubs, agents, so that if any of those fall through and we need to revert to the loan market, we can. But our primary aim is to bring players that we think will either be adding in experience, because most loan players, the odd one like Connor last year, is different, but most are going to be really young. So we want some senior players that can add to the dressing room, and then some players that we believe will be future assets to the club. So it's definitely a plan. Probably started to see it last summer, definitely saw it in January, and we're only trying to bring a player in if we don't think there's an option for a permanent signing in that position. Make sense?
Is that all right? Thumbs up. Well done, Jess. Here's an interesting one, actually. This is from our friend Tom again. It's sort of aimed at Harvey, but I guess all of you. How do you balance business profitability with the passion and emotions of running a football club?
He's an interesting guy, this Tom.
Yeah, Tom's been busy getting ready for this. Yeah, no, it's a spot-on question. It is. You let the emotion of this game get to you. We've admittedly have probably invested more quicker in the last 3.5 years than we anticipated. We really didn't have a 5-year plan, but if we did, we would have already blown through that in 3 years. And so, but that is the fun of what we do. It is trying to compete at the highest level. We talk about cost per win, we talk about cost per win in baseball, we talk about cost per point here in football. And, you know, how much can you overachieve based upon spending money in the proper manner for the right players and for the right people? We don't want to lose money, but it's a tough game, and it's a game that requires tremendous investment. This year, as you've heard tonight, it requires more investment than what we're used to in this league. But there is a balance that has to be maintained, and it sort of takes everybody's contribution to this. It's more than just equity. It's coming to the games. It's wearing the kit. It's going away games to support our guys. Coming to cup games. You know, it's. I'll be honest with you. I hope we can continue to develop to be the model of a club that's going to get people out to cup games, because they're important to clubs like us. Some teams just write off the cup games and say that's for the second half of our roster to get minutes in. To us, it's more than that, and so we want to win. But yeah, you know, they are revenue enhancers for us, and so we try hard to keep a balance. We are never going to be that highest spending club, but we're willing to step out there. And we've talked about, you know, own versus loan, you know, to the young man's outstanding question. You hit the nail on the head as to what we're trying to do here at Lincoln. And we're willing to absorb, you know, some losses to make that championship playoff run. That's what we're after. There's nothing more that we want. We just want to be promoted, you know, and we will fight like heck, and we do what we do, and I'm proud of the effort that everybody puts in here. It's a tough, you gotta watch the emotions, because you will just keep, you know, you say, oh, this just, you know, it just comes along, and, you know, at the end of a window and say, this is one more guy. This is one more guy that he's a difference maker, Harvey. And so, but that's what we do. And we make decisions as best as we can, and they're not all going to be right, as Liam said. So I'm not sure I answered the question, but Tom hit the nail on the head in terms of that's the tough part, is getting that balance right.
Right, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes. Have we got any more in the room?
Just a quick question for Michael. Obviously, your background is younger players, and you've had quite a few of the academy players around you at the start of the season, and Zane and Bolla have been quite close. I know how difficult it is for like the younger players to actually make it, but how close are them players, especially Zane and Bolla? How close are they to actually making that step?
Yeah, good two talented young lads, and I think when they're young, a lot young, so some of our players are young and they're of a level through the academy. It's important that they come in and feel it and go back and go up, and so it's a bit like education, isn't it? You have to differentiate and stretch, and when they can competent, they go back and consolidate. So with the younger players, I like to move them into training, out of training. Sometimes Zane, especially this summer, spend a lot of time with us, get them on the pitch in pre-season, as you saw in certain games. And then see whether they can cope. And it doesn't mean that they won't cope in the future if they go back. It just means at the moment they're on the stretch. But like Oshin came in on Tuesday night, and that was his stretch, right? That's what I mean about earlier. It takes time. It takes time with these players to fit into what we want to do. But don't underestimate the physicality, the intensity, the work that the first team train at, which is a bit of a shift for the young men. But as you know, and I think everybody knows, I would give opportunity to young players. But at the same time, that's probably linked to the first question, the win develop bit. If I only put young players on the pitch, I don't think we're going to win enough games. So getting that's the hardest job for me, is getting the balance right with the young players.
No, it wouldn't be a Q&A without one from our friend Cornell. He wants to know if you're going to throw any shapes down. No, it isn't. This one's for Liam. If I can find it. Will we see different events taking place in the community hub at the Stacey West stand this year?
Yeah, thank you. Good question, Cornell. So we're really proud of the development of the Stacey West hub. The plan is that it benefits match day, non-match day, growing those revenue opportunities that we talked about in that pie chart and that presentation. But yeah, absolutely, that is part of it. And we're, one of the things that we're equally invested in is our community, the immediate community around us and the community of Lincoln. And for us to have a connection with the community and a facility to do that is really important. We're really, really proud of the work that Lincoln City Foundation do. For those of you that don't know, forgive me, but indulge me for a moment. The work of the foundation, doing everything from helping teach people English lessons that come to the country that don't speak English, helping people live and get through, living with cancer. We have extra time hubs, which the best way to describe it is a youth club for older people. We're dealing with citizenship. We're dealing with people with loneliness. So there is a huge breadth of work, and quite honestly, and probably this isn't the PR answer that you want to hear, but even if those people don't become fans of the football club, and even though I think we know that we're having a positive impact on this community, and I think we've got a moral obligation, and I think we've got an ethical obligation to do everything we can for this city and for the community. So whilst we all get, the green rectangle is the sexy fun part of it, and we get our kicks from that, quite honestly, we get the same amount of kicks from sharing stories from people that have come through our doors, football fans or not, and that we think we've made a difference to their lives. And I think this football club, as a pillar of the community, can have all kinds of impact. We can have economic impact to Lincoln. We can help the local traders. We can help the local businesses. We can help the tourism industry. I think it's our role actually to improve the economic output for Lincoln. As well, and whilst that's the primary businesses, of course, on the field, off the field as well is really important. So very quick, without boring you on this, when Lincoln City are on TV, Destination Lincolnshire have the most hits on their website than they get in any other period. The tourism opportunity that we can present that bring people into the city of Lincoln, and look, part of our job is to lever that for sponsorship opportunities as well and get our fair buck out of that. But equally, it's about making this place be the best it can be. And an economic, prosperous Lincoln is good for the football club. And equally, a healthy community is really good for the football club. So we take our responsibility seriously, and hopefully, the community hub will accelerate our aims in that area as well.
Brilliant. Right, we have time for one more question. So I want a really good one from the floor. Or not. Pardon? They're always at the back. Rob Noble.
No.
Shall I go and talk to Rob Noble?
Black t-shirt.
No, sorry, I'm not. I'm coming to the black t-shirt. Is it this black t-shirt? No. That black t-shirt. You could have walked up there and met me.
I'm just curious in terms of with the incoming financial rules and the spending rules that's coming in allegedly next year. I'm wondering how that affected the planning for this window in terms of spending money and obviously the money coming in, and how it will affect us going forward.
Good question. Look, here's part of the challenge. There are football clubs operating out there that are almost not looking what's coming down the road. I'd like to think that that's where we're different. We're planning for that. We always forecast, we plan when our contracts are expiring, what that looks like, how you replace, so from both a sporting point of view and a financial point of view. So it's Jez and Michael's job to look at the depth charts around next cab on the rank, if we sell, what that looks like, as this contract hits a certain milestone, what will that cost, And then on the business side, it's our role to manage and understand where those financial peaks and troughs, and ultimately where Jason comes in terms of understanding how we can grow our revenue and our opportunity to spend. You may have heard me say this, but for example, bringing the catering in-house for the first time, there are 3 objectives there. One of that is improved fan experience. We know we've got it wrong in the past and we need to do better. We respect that. Another objective of that is improving the business overall. But the other aspect is helping the sporting side, and the fact that bringing it in-house increases the turnover, hopefully increases profitability, and therefore gives us a little bit more headroom and bandwidth in those areas. So it's something that we've always got to look at. It is like 3D chess sometimes. It's not always easy, but really boring things for Jez and Michael and the team that we have to do is just look at those contract cycles and, quite frankly, ensure that we never have too many peaking at the same time, and ensuring that we have players at the other end of the spectrum going on that development journey as well. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not that interesting from a sporting point of view, but it's very important from a governance point of view to ensure that we're always compliant with the spend rules.
Right, well, I think that just about wraps it up, unless there is a last minute really, really, really important one. No? In that case, look, I've been doing this a long time, as you know. That was one of the best evenings we've ever had, so give it up for everybody. Including Jason.